A. Life in Mexico's underwater caves. Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula is home to the most extensive network of coastal underwater caves on Earth. The water in many of the caves consists of two layers. The top layer is fresh water, which flows down from ground level. Because the caves extend all the way to the ocean, however, there is also salt water toward the bottom of them. Since salt water is denser than fresh water, the two layers remain separate. Between these layers is a mixed layer of fluid known as the halocline. This thin layer often amazes divers who enter these caves, as it looks like an underwater river when viewed from above. Because of the low levels of sunlight and oxygen in these caves, it was long thought that the organisms living there, including tiny crustaceans, fed primarily on dead plant material and other decaying organic matter that sinks down from the freshwater layer above. Now, however, researchers are exploring the possibility that the halocline layer could be home to bacteria that convert chemical energy taken from the surrounding rocks into a form of energy that other organisms in the caves can consume. Further research in these caves could provide clues about how Earth's earliest life forms survived in environments with little or no sunlight.
Questions. Number 11. What do we learn about the halocline layer? Number 12. What do researchers think about bacteria in the halocline layer of the caves? B. Medieval medicine. In the southern Italian city of Salerno, an institution widely regarded as the first Western medical school became internationally renowned around the 10th century, leading Salerno to become medieval Europe's centre of medical scholarship. The expertise of its graduates was unmatched anywhere else in Europe, as the school's founders had based the curriculum not only on medical knowledge inherited from the ancient Greeks, but also on translations of Arabic medical texts. These latter texts tended to be more scientific in nature, and many of them were translated into Latin for the first time by scholars affiliated with the school. The school in Salerno was unusual for the time because it welcomed female medical students and even employed female physicians as instructors. The most prominent of these was a doctor named Trotta, who, in the 12th century, wrote numerous works on medicine, and her most famous work focused on the health needs of women. In it, Trotta shocked many by claiming that men's physical problems, rather than those of women, could sometimes be responsible for women not becoming pregnant. Trotta's texts spread throughout Europe and were consulted for hundreds of years.
Questions. Number 13. What does the speaker say about the curriculum of the school in Salerno? Number 14. What was one thing Trotta claimed that surprised people at the time?
C. Jellyfish dreams. To many scientists, the question of whether jellyfish sleep seemed a simple one. It is generally accepted that sleep is dependent on the existence of a brain, something that jellyfish lack entirely. Recently, though, researchers studied a jellyfish species called Cassiopeia, which makes pulsing movements every second or so. An imaging system revealed the pulses are 30% less frequent at night. One possible explanation is that it is a mechanism for conserving energy rather than true sleep. However, experiments revealed that if the jellyfish were disturbed throughout the night, they became less active the next day, in the same way that humans are fatigued after a poor night's sleep. In contrast, when the jellyfish were disturbed during the day, there was no reduction in later activity levels. These experiments suggest that sleep may not be exclusively limited to brains. Instead, sleep may be built into neurons, the specialized cells that send signals, such as pain or physical sensations, between various parts of the body. If jellyfish really do sleep, it would have great evolutionary significance. Rather than being a product of brain development, it would mean sleep is much more ancient, dating back to when creatures were controlled by neurons alone.
Questions. Number 15. What is one thing researchers discovered about Cassiopeia jellyfish? Number 16. What do the experiments on Cassiopeia suggest?
D. Slower marathons. A report based on the running times of over 20 million marathoners in the US indicates that non-professional runners' speeds are declining. Since 1980, the average time it takes to complete a marathon has increased by approximately 20%. Several explanations have been proposed, including the increasing number of novice runners in recent years. The popularity of marathons has been on an upward trend, with participation shooting up by approximately 60% over the past few decades. However, despite the reality that more people in the US are running marathons than ever before, these theories seem unlikely. For one thing, statistics indicated a decrease in speed regardless of both gender and age. Furthermore, even in races that target more serious runners by implementing strict qualifying standards, such as the Boston Marathon, average finishing times are getting slower. The latest research shows a strong correlation between running times and increases in obesity and other lifestyle-related illnesses such as diabetes. Given that 80% of adults fail to follow national health guidelines for engaging in physical activities, it seems likely that the trend is a consequence of the deterioration of overall fitness levels in the US population.
Questions. Number 17. What do we learn about the decrease in running speeds? Number 18. What is the most likely reason for the change in speed?
E. Underground trees. While the vast majority of the world's trees exist above the ground, a few species grow below it, with just a few twigs or leaves visible above the surface. Found in the grass-covered savannas of Africa and South America, some of these species can live for thousands of years. One theory is that they evolved that way to escape winter frosts. Growing underground could also be a defense against plant-eating wildlife. However, the greatest diversity of underground trees is found in a region where frosts are rare and animals are scarce. Therefore, researchers studied the influence of intense wildfires that spread quickly through the savannas using grass as fuel. The results of the study show that, in most cases, evolving to grow underground was likely a response to these huge blazes, that would otherwise have made it nearly impossible to survive in the savannas. Despite all the survival benefits the trees have found in their underground habitat, there is one significant drawback. Because they do not reproduce sexually, the plants that make up these underground forests are actually clones of each other. That means they lack genetic diversity and are therefore more vulnerable as a species than ordinary trees when threatened by bacteria or viruses.
Questions. Number 19. What does the study suggest is the most common reason for trees to evolve to grow underground? Number 20. According to the speaker, what is one problem faced by underground trees?
F. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 21.
Attention passengers. Due to circuit malfunctions on the track, the 105 train to Johnson City, with scheduled stops at Elmwood and Freeburg, will be delayed by at least 2 hours. For passengers heading all the way to Johnson City, we are operating express buses. These buses arrive at Johnson City Station at 2:15. This is an express bus service with no stops until Johnson City. Local trains are operating from Johnson City to Freeburg, so passengers going to Freeburg can use the express bus service, then transfer to the local train. All other passengers currently waiting for the 105 train can use the local buses that depart from the bus stop near the west exit. These stop at every train station along the way to Johnson City. Buses reach Johnson City in around 1.5 hours. We apologize for the inconvenience.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
G. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 22.
There are 4 applications I found that are within the company's budget. First, Video Ahoy is a popular product that even a novice can learn to operate in just a few minutes. Of course, you probably heard about the data leak they had last month, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. Talk Afar is less well known, but it's similar to Video Ahoy in terms of user-friendliness. The first version had quite a few security issues, but it's now considered the industry leader in terms of data protection. Another option we should look at is Face2Biz. We'd have to set up a training program due to its complicated interface, but it's known for its reliable connections and rock-solid security. Finally, there's NetChatter. It's the most reasonably priced option, but it's somewhat lacking in terms of both user-friendliness and security.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
H. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 23.
So far, I've only heard from 5 out of 8 department heads about who their representatives for the Finance Committee will be for this year. They may be assuming that if their representative is the same as last year, they don't need to get back to me, but that's not the case. Here are the names of the representatives from last year. I've already crossed out 5 names and replaced them with the newly assigned representatives. Can you get in touch with the other 3 representatives to see whether they have been asked to continue? You can do it by phone or just send an email. The updated university directory that just came out has the latest numbers and email addresses. We need to confirm all members by the end of next week so we can set a date for our first meeting and send out the agenda.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
I. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 24.
Okay, the technical specifications for our new laptop computer are nearly ready, so we should be prepared to start production within the next couple of months. There are a few details that haven't been set in stone yet, but we're pretty clear on the main manufacturing requirements. Therefore, at this point, the research department should pass on specifications to the relevant departments by email. Include the details of all the chips, motherboard, etc. We can make minor adjustments later if necessary. Once the purchasing department has the specifications, their priority should be finding out about the availability and cost of the parts we need. Then, after purchasing has heard back from our suppliers with price estimates, they can meet with accounting about creating a purchase order. I know there's some time pressure here, but if we work together, I'm sure we can meet all our deadlines.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
J. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 25.
We have 4 different trap models in stock right now. This one is called the Powell Easy Set. It's a lethal trap, and it's one-time use, so you can throw it away without ever having to see the animal inside. It's extremely effective and will eliminate your pest problems fast. This one is the E-Trap. It's electrical, and it's fatal to the animal as well, but you can reuse it. It's also very effective. If you're looking for a more humane option, consider the Catch Expert 2. It's non-lethal, so be prepared to release the mouse after you've caught it. Be sure to do it far away from your home, or the pest may return. A similar but more expensive non-fatal model is the Mouse House. The reason for the bigger price tag is that your odds of success go up greatly thanks to its advanced design.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet. This is an interview with Stefan Schilling, the founder and director of a nonprofit theater company.
Thanks for joining us today, Stefan. To start off, could you tell us a little about your company?
Sure. We are a nonprofit theater company that specializes in adapting literature for the stage that has never been adapted before. Over the last 10 years, we've performed a wide variety of shows, from Victorian ghost stories to Russian satirical short stories to science fiction epics.
Are there any similarities between the shows, or are they all very different in style?
Well, there are differences to be sure, but we have developed a very particular kind of style. We are a nonprofit, and as such, our budget is tight. That means that we have to work within a number of limitations. We typically perform in smaller, simple spaces because they tend to be a lot cheaper to rent. We also don't have the means to create large, elaborate sets. As a result, we have to produce all of our plays in such a way that we can rely on the imagination of the audience to create the setting, supported only with audio cues, lighting, and minimal handheld props.
What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
Securing funding is always a bit of a struggle, but certainly the most creatively challenging thing, I would say, is the script writing. Our mission statement is to adapt works of literature that have never been performed on stage before. Instead of performing classic works where you already have a script written and waiting for you to use, I have to go through the source material myself and adapt it into something that can be performed. Depending on the work, I might need to delete or add scenes, combine characters, or create new ones, and, especially, write a lot of new dialogue.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It really is, but it's also the most rewarding part of the job. There's nothing wrong with performing established plays, but I find more meaning in creating everything from scratch. Well, there's the original work that the plays are based on, of course, but I'm able to take pride in my work not only as a director, but also as a writer. It's more rewarding for me personally, and we also distribute our original scripts for free over the internet after the run of each show has ended. In this way, we try to give back to the community and support other small theater businesses around the globe, as these scripts are designed to be performed anywhere on a shoestring budget.
That's great. Do you have any advice for people wanting to start their own theater company?
In an artistic endeavor like creating a theater company, the most important thing would be to have a clear mission in mind. That is to say, to have a clear idea of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. I believe that any theater company with enough persistence and enough vision can become an integral part of its local artistic community.
Thank you very much for your time today, Stefan.
Thank you.
Questions. Number 26. What led to the unique performance style of Stefan's company? Number 27. What is one thing that Stefan says is difficult about his job?